much appreciate that.
Appreciate that.
I'm sure.
Yes, thank you, Dave.
I'm sure you'll find a way to serve here.
We got openings on the CWSA Council. We might be soliciting you.
Go to your account though. We'll think about that.
Yeah. So with us tonight, we've got Megan here, Nick's here, the rest of the crew's here.
Okay.
Paul Liebherr is here. He's going to give a little presentation, or he's going to talk about his new role.
Okay.
And Elena Black, our faithful parent, mom.
Okay. So what's the fact me and Brian are there?
Pat.
Pat Rashevsky. It's myself, you, and Pat.
Okay.
And so we do have a quorum, and at this time I'd like to call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Brian Geezy,
Present.
Doug Houston, David Schmidt,
Here.
Brian Mahan, and I am present.
Very good. For those who are able, let's stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Virtue card reading tonight. Pat.
I got it. Courtesy. Courtesy is being polite and having good manners. When you speak and act courteously, you give others a feeling of being valued and respected. Greet people pleasantly. Bring courtesy home. Your family needs it most of all. Courtesy helps life go smoothly. You are practicing courtesy when you remember your manners, treat elders, parents, teachers, and children politely, think about how your actions affect others, eat, speak, and move graciously, make requests instead of demands, greet people with a smile. Affirmation: I am courteous. I speak and act in a mannerly way. I show others that I value and respect them.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you
very much. And then our Board of Education guidelines. With an open mind, we will establish an atmosphere that allows expression of all views, even when views are not in line with all members. We will work collaboratively with the district administrator by having open and honest conversations around district priorities. We will work collaboratively with all stakeholders to monitor key indicators so that equitable teaching and learning results in high achievement. We will work toward building a trusting environment where both students and staff can reach their full potential and celebrate successes in academics, the arts, and athletics. At this time, I'd like to entertain any public comments that we have for today. And we don't have any guests out there. So at this time, we're going to move on to showcasing schools and student learning. Is there a CWSA update?
Just a short update today, but we are looking into Project Lead the Way training. Not looking in, we've got Chris Goodwin signed up for Project Lead the Way training this June. And then also we're trying to network with Chuck Falderschweiler to do some coding professional development with Emily so we can try to weave some of those things back into CWSA.
And that Project Lead the Way was, who was going to?
Chris Goodman.
Chris Goodman. Very good.
Down at MSOE.
Thank you very much for the update. And then we're on to communicating with the board. I'd like to turn it over to Miss Linda.
Okay, I have a memo that I'm going to be passing out, and it's basically just giving you an explanation on a few grants that are going to be effective for the 18-19 school year. It's the Personal Electronic Computing Device Grant. There's some information for you to read over. There's a lot of miscommunications about this grant, so DPI has clarified it a little bit. The Mental Health Categorical Aid Program and the School-Based Mental Health Collaborative Grant Program are also listed there for your review. The Mental Health Categorical Aid Program is a new categorical aid, but I don't believe a lot of districts will be qualifying for this aid. I do believe that it was probably an election push because there's a lot of rules attached to these categorical aids. I provided this update for you to read over, and if you want to contact me with any questions that you have, that'd be great. The last thing that's on this memo is the school level financial transparency. This is a federal guideline that's coming down the pike. It was effective last year. We received a waiver from the federal government, and it's now going to be effective for the 18-19 school year. And it's basically stating that a school district has to code expenses by location per their report card. So our report card is AMS, NHS, and HES, and CWSA, correct?
And Nekoosa Academy.
And Nekoosa Academy. So we will be coding expenditures to those 5 locations. We are way ahead of the game. We're already doing that. But they're basically saying that what's going to happen is that people are going to be looking at the report card, they're going to be looking at the expenditures, and they're going to be comparing school districts on how well they're doing with the report card versus how much money they're spending on each location. So the state, our state, Wisconsin, has been meeting with many states throughout the nation, trying to develop guidelines on how to report certain aspects of a school district. For example, the district administrator is a district-wide location because he is involved in everything. So they're creating guidelines on how we should address these areas that are district-wide. So when we do have to look at locations, everybody is coding the same way then. So we're comparing apples to apples. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. There is more information in the memo, and you can certainly email me with any questions that you have on these. The last two things I wanted to remind you of is that next month I am going to be bringing Safeway contract to the board for approval. Safeway will be present, so just, you have a copy of the contract. Just a reminder that if you have any questions, contact me immediately. Also, OE13 is up for review next month as well, and that's the facilities. Steve and I have been working on a facilities draft plan for about 2 months now, so Steve Hirschberg will also be available at the meetings to go over this draft plan. And again, it's just a draft, so we need input on this draft plan as well. But Steve is really the expert on the buildings and grounds area, so I wanted him to explain some of that information.
That'll be at the Thursday meeting.
We can do it the Thursday meeting, yeah, absolutely. Yep, perfect.
Might be good to
Yep.
flesh some things out
Yes,
there.
absolutely.
Very good.
Okay, that's all I had.
Lynn, could you just give an overview, because this whole social worker topic has been out there, would you just give that high-level view that you gave this morning?
Sure. Well, the 2 grants that are out there, first of all, we have the mental health categorical aid program. This is for districts that already have a social worker that is recorded in Fund 10, which is our operational. If you hire another social worker in this year, so let's say you have a social worker you're already coding for 16-17 and 17-18, and you hire a new social worker in 17-18, the difference of that expenses, the increased expenses, would be categorical aided at 50%. So it's not very much. They only set aside $3 million in the budget, the GPR budget for this. So if every district in the state utilized that, it would be about $7,000, which is ridiculous.
And how many years
It's for 4 years.
that they're setting aside that amount of money?
Correct.
Wow.
Yes. But we also have to remember that it's not just public schools. It's independent charter schools, private schools. So there are a lot of schools that could be eligible for this.
Yeah, but at 50%, are a lot of schools gonna want
Right, we
to
were talking about
do that route, go that route?
It's really for the
Yeah.
districts or the schools that have already decided to
Right,
hire
okay,
a social
okay.
worker. Yeah,
Okay.
so it's disappointing. The other school-based mental health, a collaborative grant program, is a competitive grant. And that's when you collaborate with the community to open like a mental health station in the school district, which I believe we're already doing. So this is for a new program. So if you're already doing it, it's not considered new, so we would not be eligible for this competitive grant unless we opened up a new program. There's not a lot of details on the collaborative grant program, and once DPI releases more information, I can certainly update the board on that.
Thank you. So we'll be following this.
Any questions?
Just, looking at the grant for the personal electronic.
Yeah.
And I think, do you have any highlights how that might affect us? Or I have some questions probably would be more appropriate to just send you. But how would it affect our district, do you think?
How would it affect our district?
Yeah.
Well, the problem DPI is having is they do not collect a ninth grade enrollment total at all. They collect grades K through 12. So they're trying to figure out how they're going to get the ninth grade enrollment in order to calculate the amount that's due to our district. So they're still in the process of working that out. But let's just say we have what?
94.
94 students times 125, which is about $11,000. Right. The misconception was that it was only to be used for the ninth graders, and that's not true. It's the amount calculated is based on the ninth graders, but it's opened up school-wide. And DPI indicated that they want to make this aid as flexible as possible for the districts. They don't want districts to jump through a lot of hoops to get this money or to even spend the money. There is a match, however, it's a one-to-one match, so we have to, whatever we receive, we have to spend. But they've opened up that match so wide that you're already spending that match up. So the match doesn't concern me.
Right.
So,
So it's really not that, it's significant to 11,000, but roughly, but it's not
right.
it's not a cure for everything.
No,
But
no.
thank you for that.
Yep,
Update, I really appreciate that, Lynn. Thank
sure.
you. Lynn, anything else?
Oh, that's it.
Then we're gonna move on to Mr. Brian Grill.
All right. To kind of piggyback off Lynn was saying in grants, I found out that there is a grant being offered though that would assist us in our work around multi-tiered systems of support in the behavioral area. They just announced it and the application's actually due at the end of April, but it's a 3-year grant where they provide an external coach and we have to identify an internal coach where they pay for subs, professional development, things along that line. The first year you would get $24,000, second year $20,000, and the third year $12,000. But it's basically giving you the time and resources in professional development to help create that multi-tiered system of support. So this way it's similar to a SPDIG grant, which the high school currently has, but it's just now the focus is shifting from that academic co-teaching piece. Not that we're not losing that as a district, but we're also now gaining financial support through this grant to do that multi-tiered system of support work. So I just gave principals information on that and looking to set up meetings with them to potentially apply for this grant.
So one for AMS and one for hockey.
Correct.
Where do we fit in comparatively to other schools? Are we farther ahead in an approach with the multi-tiered?
I would say it's a mix across the state. Some are at similar spots, some are ahead of us. And I talked with Nathan a little bit too, whereas the state RTI network and PBIS network have criteria and standards that say these are things to have in place to consider yourself at a good spot. So in getting those resources from Nathan, that's what I'm comparing us against and where we're at. So we're moving up the lines of what we're having in place. I would say, are we at fidelity yet? No, but we're getting in place. I wouldn't say we're far ahead, we're not way behind. I'd say we're middle of the road in some areas.
one thing that's important to emphasize is these multi-tiered systems of support are both behavioral and academic. So the work that we've been doing at AMS, for example, this last year, has really been helping build up one aspect of these tiers as it's coming along. So it certainly touches more than just one area. So,
And that's evident in what you've been, you know, the curriculum and the things that you've been relating to us through the years. So it's nice to see that it supports itself. And you don't have to recreate the wheel.
well, it's nice to get grant funds to help you with the direction you're already going.
Yeah.
That's the-
Yeah,
that's the
that
ideal.
doesn't happen very, that was really a gift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other thing to piggyback off of Lynn again is also talking with our current contract for mental health resources in our district is with Barron Psychiatry, the child and adolescent psychiatry. So we are updating that contract in preparation for next year, because I will say for the second time this year, due to the amount of families utilizing that resource, we have hit our max for the second time. So it's a resource that is being utilized in our schools as very helpful. So I'm meeting with them again to set our contract for next year. So it's exciting news, but also too, they're even looking to say, hey, how can we do things a little bit differently? So right now they're doing just individual counseling, but they want to have a meeting with me to kind of discuss how can they do a balance of group counseling for some students that would be appropriate for, and individual counseling. So I'm in the middle of talks with them of what their services could look like in our schools next year.
Very good.
So.
Thank you. Mr. Schmidt, can you hear the comments? Do you have any questions?
I can hear them. I don't have any questions yet.
Very good. Thank you. And Brian, you're good?
Thanks.
Thank you very much for the update. Good news. And it's nice to see that what you're doing, you know, Lynn, and it's supporting where Lynn is, and it's good to see that collaboration and the way it works. Mr. Nicholas Niprath, you're on.
All right, well, short update, not much really going on this month. We're continuing to work on the dress code. We've submit a kind of our recommendations to administration. That'll go back to school planning, and then we'll kind of see where it goes from there. So the student council side of it is done. We're working a little bit more on murals around the building. That's kind of our next project. Outside of that, really graduation. We have a committee meeting this week, and finals is kind of this week going. Yeah, it's this week Friday. But not really much going on right now.
Well, what about your storm?
Oh,
Team.
yeah. So an update as well on what we talked about last month with the whole new plan and everything. We went to Storm Spotter training. Mr. Whitmore, Ms. Kautzer, Mr. Groh, Mr. Johnson, myself, and Mr. Hahn and Mrs. Hahn went to Storm Spotter training.
Highly trained group here.
I don't know if any of you have anything you want to share from that. But
It was very interesting.
Oh,
I mean, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So,
Thanks for the opportunity.
yes.
Yeah.
absolutely.
This guy. And when the storms are
And
coming.
now we're gonna chase
You're
storms.
gonna go outside, looking up at the clouds, and, yeah.
Well, the very next day, they sent
Just
me
looking
pictures of
slow.
themselves taking measurements of snow.
Yeah.
So,
And looking for scud clouds.
yeah.
The insurance is paid up in the school van.
We have an event this Friday with acapella group.
Yes. I don't have many details on that, but
Tickets are available, $10 for adults, $5 for students, and you can certainly ask anyone to come. You know, I mean, anyone.
the weather should still be okay for that.
Thank you.
Otherwise, ice is coming, yeah.
Yeah.
Your last chance to get outside for the week.
Exactly.
Rain.
Thank you.
Mr. Niprath, thank you very much for your time.
Thank
And
you.
You'll be with us for the main meeting.
Yes, I'll be
Good.
with everybody through the June meeting.
Fantastic. Very good. At this time, I'd like to recognize Mr. Paul Lee Hare. Paul joined our district. In fact, I'd like, John, if you would like to make the introduction.
We were doing a great job, Brian, but I'll jump right on that. Yeah, Paul officially started about a week ago, Monday, in the capacity of our Family, School, and Community Outreach Liaison, and he's got 1 week under his belt, and with that, I'm going to turn it over to Paul, and he can just kind of share some highlights and thoughts that he has related to his work right now.
Yeah, I created a little chart to kind of show what the position and what I've been working on a little bit. First of all, I want to thank you for allowing me the opportunity to come tonight and say hi. And it's been quite a week. I've been busy. And I want to thank Mr. Sprain and Rod Winters was phenomenal last Monday when I came in. He took me at 8 o'clock. He's in my office. Hey, let's go for a walk, and got me in the building right away and meeting kids and teachers. So he was phenomenal. And of course, Tiffany and Patty have been unbelievable as well, helped me get my feet wet and get settled in. With that, I've been trying to make every meeting I possibly could, begin to learn some of the culture of the building and what I need to be focusing on. Eventually, the FSC Outreach Liaison will be working all the schools, but I'm going to be focusing on Humke primarily for the foreseeable future. And as we've been talking to staff there and thinking through what the role at Humke looks like, we've been talking about kind of 2 buckets of work. One around parent or family engagement, working with the teachers and parents to help them become more involved in their students' learning and how we can build those bridges stronger. The other bucket then would be helping families in our district, and Humke families particularly, helping. I would be a connecting piece for them to services in our community that might be helping them with barriers that their students might have to learning. And so on that side, it's a little bit of social work, not formally, and then on the other part is the parent engagement part. So those are the 2 major buckets, but I've been doing other things in the building just as they come up. If Mr. Sprainer or Mr. Winters is busy, I've been involved with helping out some kids with conflict and doing those things. I'm really loving the mornings, just walking the halls, getting to meet the kids. I've met with the 3rd grade staff today. We're already planning. So another piece of this, it's not a big bucket, but it's another piece is involving the community in our schools and our kids in the community. That will happen, I would foresee, more pronounced at the high school level. But at Humke, I already met with the 3rd grade team today about talking about a service project for the 3rd graders. They're going to be reading the book Wonder and talking about how do we treat others, how do we treat the environment, and how do we treat ourselves. And so we're working on a community service project right now. I probably can't share too much about because I'm working on it. But it's a project for the kids to how we treat others, and I'm going to do that as a learning piece. So hit the ground running, reading some books, getting caught up in some areas that I need to be reading on, and really excited to be part of the district. I'm super happy to be here, excited about what the future holds. So, any questions?
I'm familiar, Mr. Lee, here with you from previous work that we've done together, and I'm just so excited that you're with us. And I know that you have the right tools that can really connect with those families and students. And I'm really excited for you to be here.
Thank you.
And I think it's going to make us a stronger family. That's really what we're looking at, is creating a safe zone for our students here and creating an environment where they can learn and grow academically.
Absolutely.
I'm happy, and I think I can speak for the board in that respect. So welcome, and don't be afraid to challenge us. A new set of eyes, a lot of times coming into a situation, it can be so helpful. Especially from outside of education, coming into education, you may see things that we don't see. Don't be afraid to test the boundaries a little bit. John, is that okay, Mr. Sprague? Okay.
No, it's good to ask why, because sometimes it's, not that Keith wants to insert his ham-bone story right now, but that's a running joke between him, but it's kind of like, it's always good to seek to understand, and I think this is a good opportunity with, like you say, Brian, a fresh set of eyes and how we come to that. Ham-bone stories for another day.
Another day.
I'd like to echo those comments myself. Brian, welcome, Paul. Glad to have you on board.
Thank you.
Paul said thank you, Doug, Dave. So,
What's that?
Paul said thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Welcome, and we hope to see you again, and we just
Yeah,
wish
we'll
you
get
your
some
success.
updates.
Yeah, thanks.
Glad you're
Appreciate
here.
it.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, we are gonna be moving on to the discussion on physical education credits for participation in athletics. And this really relates to the alternate PE physical education credit options that are available to our students. And I'd like to turn this part of the discussion over to
Keith
Do
and
you want me to
Megan.
take it?
Keith and Megan.
Sure, come on, go ahead.
So we really turned it over to Mr. Hahn to develop some alternatives
Oh, you're
for
right.
athletics credit. Other schools around the state and in our conference are offering credit for participation in varsity athletics. So what you have is what you came up with based off of what other schools are doing, schools in our conference, and then working with our varsity coaches, some of our varsity coaches, to develop. Students would be awarded a half a credit, which is what we award for any semester-long course, for 2 varsity sports in a school year, and would be awarded a full credit for 3 varsity sports during a school year.
How many PE credits do they have to take during their high school?
1.5.
1.5.
Yeah, and this could, it would be the, if you look at point number B, that's letter B, it could not replace essentials of PE, which is the freshman, and it would, and then students would have to take one other PE class. So in essence, it would replace one of their 3 courses, and then they could take some as elective.
So their credits would then become elective credits and are not lost. They just fit into a different category.
Does that free them up then to take other?
It does.
It allows them to take other classes that maybe it's a college prep course, maybe it's a.
Absolutely, because any of the athletics are taking place outside of the normal school day, so it's not
Okay.
scheduled into their day, and you're not taking up an hour with a PE course. They're fulfilling that outside of the normal school day. Correct.
Paul, do you have anything you want to add on?
Yeah, I would say, from a coach's perspective, I like the idea, especially, it gives us, it's a little bit more work for the coaches because we have to take attendance, right? So there's attendance linked to it, but I think that's a good thing. And helps us keep track of those kids. You know, when I've got, 50 kids or whatever to take care of, I have to make sure I'm checking in with these guys and check, know what their attendance is, and not just why they're not, but what they're doing in life, right? So why they're not there, is there anything I can do to help them so that they can be there, that kind of stuff. So I like it. I think it's a great opportunity to free up some of the academic time for other academics because they're already participating in sports after school. So I think it's a great kind of win-win.
And it's not simply credit for participation. I mean, like Paul said, there's 90% of practices that they have to show up to, but they're also setting 3 fitness goals. They have to progress monitor. All of that needs to be documented. Their sport must impact 3 of the 5 fitness components. So it's not just a free-for-all. There is a detailed structure so that kids are building lifetime fitness goals into, tying it into their athletics.
It's also, honestly, it's something that comes about because of moving Paul Hahn into that AD role, where he will be working very closely with the coaches and with the student athletes on their fitness goals related to their program, and then also putting together programs, nutrition and fitness programs, lifting programs for the students, working in conjunction with the coaches. And it's really exciting to be able to bring the athletics and our physical education program in the school together in a much more seamless way than what before in the past. It's been kind of athletics exist over here, Phi Ed and school exist over here, and the two don't really necessarily meet. I think what we're working on here is something that really could be a model for other districts in terms of the work certainly that Megan and Paul have put into putting this together is exciting to see. And it really, like I said, only comes from being able to move Mr. Hahn into that athletic director role. And so that's exciting.
I think, just from my knowledge, that there was a lot of ideas that came out of our staff in working with us, Paul, and, the
Coaching staff?
Yeah, well, he's been working, he's been meeting with all the coaches.
Yeah,
We've been in the loop.
and so just
We've had
to
opportunity feedback.
recognize the contributions that Paul has made, and certainly Megan and the work on this, and, I don't know if the public in general would you like to maybe speak to a little bit about Paul's responsibilities, Megan, or, I don't know if we've really announced that.
Oh, sure, I can. Yeah, so beginning next year, although already at this point as well, he's begun some projects. But Mr. Hahn, Paul Hahn, will be moving into the athletic director role. Now, we will continue to have the role that Mrs. Kautzer is in, the associate principal position, will continue to be the activities director. And so the activities director will have responsibility for overseeing student activities, including athletics. But Mr. Hahn, as the athletic director, will be working with, some of the usual AD roles, like the scheduling, contracting officials, the
Rescheduling.
transportation,
Rescheduling.
rescheduling. Different things of that sort.
Really, Mrs. Kautzer?
But then, in addition, what we have created with Mr. Hahn's position as athletic director is he'll also be working, and actually has been working very closely with the YMCA on, he's our liaison now at this point between the YMCA and the school district, related to the fitness center, working on some additional wellness programming for the district, different things of that sort, working very closely with the coaches on the athletic programs. And so that will be his role. He'll be able to focus a lot more on the athletics, while Megan, Mrs. Kautzer, will focus on other things related to experiential learning, looking at creating more job shadowing opportunities, more opportunities for students to explore the careers they might be interested in outside of school. And then also we'll be able to, I think bring students, we'll be able to improve what we're doing for students at the high school, and that's, all around really exciting things that we have going on.
I'm really excited for our athletic programs because Paul brings some strength and some knowledge to developing those programs in a way that they deserve and they need to. The things that I'm not capable of, so I'm really excited about the work that he's already started and in the future for our programs.
Well, it sounds like collaboration between all of you has resulted in something that is gonna work out really well for the district, and this kind of complements that.
Yeah.
For that
Yeah.
position, so, thank you.
I just got a couple questions. I really like this idea. I'm not criticizing, the questions that I have are, okay, first of all, it says must earn a varsity letter. What happens if that
I thought
doesn't
the same
happen?
thing.
If a kid's doing the same thing that the kid that earns the varsity letter is doing, as far as practice, playing, everything, but doesn't get the varsity letter,
Why shouldn't he or she?
why
get-
shouldn't he or she get?
Well, if a player is doing all of the things that, and the person next to them gets the varsity letter, then they're not doing all of the things. They're either not at practice, or they're not participating when they quit, or,
Okay, because that puts it on to the coaches then, as to what constitutes
Yes,
getting a
they
varsity
draw
letter.
up what
Okay.
a student needs to have for a varsity
Okay,
letter.
I'm old school, obviously, back when I played, you had to be on the varsity team to get a varsity letter. It didn't matter, whether you showed up for every practice or not, you had to be on the varsity team. So that, you're saying that might not be the situation here.
And Paul's working with each program to develop their guidelines on what
Okay.
constitutes.
Because
a letter.
that was just something that popped into
Did
my
you-
head.
That's a good question. So currently football, for instance, freshmen don't earn a varsity letter right away. There's
Right.
a tiered approach to it, right?
Right.
But I know Mr. Hahn has been in contact with me talking about the need to, and I think there's probably an opportunity here to kind of come up with one standard maybe, because I think right now different sports have different standards.
Right.
Right.
Also, freshmen would not be available to receive this.
I understand
Because they
that.
would need the,
Normal
Um,
sophomores.
the essentials of PE is a
Okay,
prerequisite.
right, and, you know, that was just something that you might wanna look at.
So what you're saying is this so far out of reach for all kids?
No, I don't think it is, but I'm thinking
But
some
you
kids.
consider that.
Some kids it might be out of reach for.
Well, currently, like, there are some sophomores on the football team who wouldn't get their varsity letter either.
Right.
But if they could do all this, then they wouldn't be eligible for the credit? Is that correct?
Well, most
I think that's
sophomores,
what you're saying.
yeah, sophomores,
Right. That's what I'm-
sophomores are in the interesting spot of, because you have to have the essentials, which is the freshman PE course, and then you have to also have, in addition, the one other PE class, which is usually taken in the sophomore year.
Okay.
So it's that last half credit.
I
So
see.
this really most applies to our juniors and seniors. And a senior who is out for, really any of our sports would letter. I mean, you know, they, in all likelihood. So that's, Mr. Hahn and I have had discussions, and I know Mrs. Coucher, Mr. Hahn, you know, we've been talking about, so, you know, is that just exactly what you're talking about? Is that too high a bar? Is it, you know, is it
Right.
something that's, that we wanna make it so that it's achievable? And I know Mr. Hahn has been working with each of the coaches, because each sport is different, and to some degree, they have to be different.
Right.
You know, wrestling is much different than, you know, what football is in terms of who letters and who doesn't. Track would be in a similar boat. So, those are things that we're certainly looking at, but right now, based on who we're looking at as the most likely target population for this, we think that that is an achievable.
Well, the thing that I like about it is it may get kids to consider at least a second sport.
Or a third, we talked
Or a
about.
third, I mean,
Or a
the
third.
half credit and 1 credit is a big difference.
Right,
to
for
them.
going out for that third,
And we have very few 3-sport athletes.
yeah, it
And so
used to be, that
hopefully
used to be the norm. You know.
Continuing athletics throughout the year
Yeah, okay,
is the goal.
that's all I just,
And what's exciting is this also ties into some other work the PE department's doing with grants and with UWSP, looking at, trying to put data together, looking at student grades when they're in athletics, when they're in a PE class, so different things along those lines.
okay.
I want to thank you very much for those discussion points. Mrs. Coucher, Mr. Johnson, thank you. And then we gotta, do we have to approve this?
No.
It's just a proposal.
Yeah,
Very good.
but do you wanna just touch on that real quick?
Yeah, so the independent
The
study
second
is
page.
the second, it's the second, point on that first page, the athletic PE credit options. What the independent study is related to is, a student who chose to do the independent study, there's some students right now who they're, you know, they take the courses and then they're working out after school, wherever, at the YMCA possibly. But a student would create 3 fitness goals around the 5 components, the same 5 components that are on the first point. Program would have to include weight training, nutrition aligned with their goals, and then you can see the students would keep accurate logs. If you look at 205 minutes of active learning time per normal 5-day week, so that's what a student would normally have if they were participating in FIED in school. Comes out to 41-minute average per day, 87 to 89 days per semester, for a total of 3,608 minutes total for one semester. That'd be a half credit. This could be achieved, the proposal would be that this could be achieved during the summer, one semester, or over a year. So the students would be keeping a log. And so what it's really working towards is that idea of lifetime fitness and lifetime wellness, as opposed to, you know, your traditional gym class. And so this is an option for any student, but certainly we have some students who would be, I think, very excited about this, and it almost gives them a personal trainer that they'd be working with over the course of possibly a year to get that half credit. So that's what number 2 is all about.
Then the athletic internship, you wanna just touch on that, the idea?
Maybe you want to get down to more about what is that?
Paul is just exploring creating a position within the school to help students who want to pursue a career in health and wellness, possibly work in the fitness center to work alongside of him, taking a look at different things that they could be doing, primarily in the fitness center. So what does that look like to kind of run that facility, manage that kind of a facility, working with students on their nutrition programs and their fitness programs, their fitness goals. So that's something we are exploring. That's kind of in a rough stage yet, trying to figure out everything that would entail, but completely geared towards what they want to pursue in their careers. Just another avenue.
Good. Yeah, that's exciting.
You'll be bringing this back to the board then for approval?
Yeah, this will come back.
Really good discussion, some great ideas there. Thank you again. Megan, Mrs. Culture, Winter Sports Survey.
So I have an update for you on winter sports surveys. Surveys were sent directly to parents via Parent Square. Students received their surveys in their school email. Some good feedback to share with the coaches concerning the directions of their programs and just good feedback in general. But still low participation from parents and students.
Better than last time?
Marginally about the same. Yep.
10%, 5%.
I'm not a numbers person. Historically,
Less than half.
it's about the same.
Less than half though, the kids and parents.
Oh goodness, yeah, maybe 20 to 25% participation.
Okay.
Significantly less.
Thank you. And then there is also a 4K to 5K transition proposal. Mr. Spring.
Sure, I can speak on behalf of that. One of the things that we've thought about at Humke is helping kids ease into the next grade ahead of them. And 4K to 5K is one of those transitions that can be a little bit bumpier for some kids. For a number of kids coming into Humke, it's their first time. We have a number of off-site 4K programs, so all of a sudden they show up as a 5K student and they're there all day. And that can be a little bit tiring, and that can be a source of anxiety and stress for the child. So one of the things that we've looked at is how we receive them, and one of the things that we have an open house night, parents come in, but what ends up happening is, just because of the sheer nature of open house, there's multiple people there, there's multiple kids there, the situation is probably not as welcoming as it could be. So with that, with all those thoughts in mind, our teachers in 5K said, let's do something different. And I support this, and one of the things that they're looking at doing is taking it, we're still gonna use that open house night, but then also on the first day, and basically create an opportunity for the parents to come in with their child, meet individually with that child, get that child acclimated into their individual classroom to allow that child to have that sense of security, and then to continue that in, and having the parents come into the first day and do some things to help release their child into kindergarten. So that's the initial thinking and what we're doing and what we're hoping to do and why we're doing it. And our kindergarten team is in the process of putting final touches on that thought. So what we would be looking to do is open house, parents come, more parents come on the first day, and the first day of school would be the second day for our kindergartners. So that's what we're looking to do. So with that, I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
It sounds like the kindergarten team got together and felt that this was a really good, you want to say it, way to reach the parents and develop that dialogue. And I think, yeah, grabbing them both by the horns and taking their recommendations. And, yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
And will you need approval on this, bringing it back, or just?
We didn't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No.
I mean, I looked at it.
Yeah.
It was
One of the things too, and I don't, getting Paul involved, like with raising highly capable kids and really talking that up and making that a big deal would be great.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, everybody, and now we're gonna get into some of the policy governance stuff, and I don't want anybody calling us late, that's not allowed. If I talk too much, please don't be afraid to holler at me. The first topic of discussion is going to be GP11 board member monitoring responsibility, and it's actually GP12.
GP12, yeah.
GP12. And board member monitoring responsibility. The interpretation of this policy is board members are responsible for monitoring all B-SR and GP policies. Any potential violation of these policies should be brought to the board's attention at the time of the violation and properly reported at the time of monitoring that particular policy. A majority of the board may call for additional monitoring of policies as necessary. All board members, district administrator, and administrators were contacted via email and asked to respond with any potential violations. And at this time, there were no violations found. I do want to read the policy statement with regards to this. Board members need to be held accountable for the board's policies. Board/district administrator relation policies and governance process policies will be the responsibility of the board. This is something that we as board members take very seriously, and again, I want to indicate that no violations were found. At this time, I move the board approve board governance policy GP12, board member monitoring responsibility monitoring report, as presented and verified by the board.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Board officers.
You want me to read the statement?
You go ahead.
All right, the policy statement is the president ensures the integrity of the board's processes. Accordingly, the president has the following authority and duties to monitor board behavior, to ensure that it is consistent with its own rules and policies, conduct and monitor board meeting deliberations, ensure that meeting deliberations are fair, open, thorough, efficient, timely, orderly, and to the point, and preside over and chair all board meeting deliberations in accordance with the law. And then E, make decisions interpreting topics covered by board district administrator relations and governance process policies.
And again, this was sent out to the board, and there were out of five of five responses, there were no noted violations. Any questions? At this time, I would make a motion that we find ourselves to be in compliance with GP5, Board Officers Monitoring Report.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. The next one we have is actually an operational expectation, communicating with the board. I want to, first of all, thank the board for the time we spent last week working together and reviewing. We spent 2 nights in closed session working on a review of our operational expectations. With regards to this operational expectation, I want to highlight a few things. The admin team put together a response and provided artifacts to indicate compliance with operational expectations. And I'd like to identify strengths, weaknesses, and any possible recommendations for improvement. Normally this discussion would occur fully during the Thursday meeting prior to the regular monthly board meeting, but in last week, because we were otherwise working, we didn't get to cover it. However, in discussions, I'm gonna mark these as strengths. And I really, Mr. Rashevsky and Mr. Schmidt, I'd like your feedback if necessary, but the policy statement is annually the board shall assure that they are fully and adequately informed about matters relating to board work and significant district concerns. A district self-evaluation will be completed to include a table that outlines the current initiatives as well as documentation to support elements of policy OE9 communicating with the board. What administration has developed is a thorough calendar of our review of all of the operational expectations as outlined in our governance policy model. Not only the operational expectations, but also the results, policies, and also the governance processes. This calendar is something that we use as a tool to look at and ensure that we are covering all data. This is something that we did not have in the past prior to policy governance. We kind of, we took, I gotta really thank Lynn and the district administrator for keeping us online on the important legal topics. Lynn, you're not smiling at me.
I'm taking notes.
Yeah.
Focusing, right?
She's focusing, we're not talking too much. But policy governance has really, the board now is being exposed to all of the operational expectations and has essentially, we were involved in the development of these expectations and results policies, and the monthly calendar allows for us to monitor those and to be able to demonstrate, this is what we've done. This is the body of evidence that's been completed. I recently worked with Diana, and Diana Martinson has created a very, very good record-keeping system. For example, the review of this operational expectation is going to be recorded as, April 2018. The summary of this document will then become a PDF, which is then stored in the repository, and it's done. That is, the artifacts listed in this document is our measurable. Other strengths. One of the requirements here is that the board is informed in a timely manner, in a simple and concise form, information about trends, facts, and other information relevant to the board's work. And it's indicated here that there might be some discussion needed, but the accountability, one thing that our administrator has done, and it's been quite effective, is he's providing board updates at any time there are situations that arise that matters that the board needs to be informed of. If there's a building evacuation, if there's a something that happens within the community that we might get a call on, if there's updates with regards to some of our findings with weaknesses or otherwise, Terry will update us in a board update, and this is done on at least a monthly basis, sometimes on a weekly basis. I get an email from Terry with a board update at 11 o'clock at night, and I wonder why he's not asleep.
Or an update when the power goes out at the middle school.
Yeah, like today.
We got
I
a
was just
board.
gonna say that.
We got a board update today on the power outage because it necessarily involved an evacuation, which may indeed prompt some public notice. And Terry was kind enough to send us a board update on that topic. Mr. Rashevsky, Mr. Schmidt, do you have any comments with regards to the board update?
Good right now.
What was that, Dave?
I said, good. We discussed that pretty good length the other night, so we're good.
Very good. The other strength is that sure the board has adequate information from a variety of viewpoints. The district conducts multiple surveys throughout the year, and these surveys, I believe you can call them, what are the Q1 surveys, guys?
Q12.
Q12 surveys.
Culture.
These are a tool that you've implemented or used consistently over a period of time. And they demonstrate, you know, we can see trends, and this is stuff that's reported to us, and I think that's, you know, provided, you know, some valuable information. I could go on here, but I'd like to, well, the other thing I'd like to just touch on as a strength, inform the board in advance of any deletions, additions, or significant modifications of any instructional programs. I want to say that that's indeed a strength that the district has. District Terry and your administration team has done an excellent job of informing the board of the trends and the, you know, the areas and where our curriculum is changing, the need for those changes, and, you know, letting the board know how you're addressing current trends, be it test data, other measurables throughout the district. You've done a great job in explaining to the board, and I think Mr. Black refers to it as unpacking the data, and I really appreciate that information. So those are some strengths, and frankly at this time I wasn't able to find any weaknesses.
Well, that's good news.
You gotta give me some more time. Any observations, Pat?
No, well, the one thing that I gotta say is, I've never been blindsided by anything. Or I take that back.
Oh,
The one
boy.
time that I was gone and I came back,
Yeah.
and it was like, and I opened my email and it's like, but had I been home, I would have been notified.
I think you were in a different country.
Yeah, I was.
I think I did try to send smoke signals. So.
Yeah, right, didn't work. I think wind was blowing the wrong
Yeah.
way. But yeah, no, I mean, I'm always, you know, when something happens, we know about it.
Yeah,
And
and
know about it soon.
the diligence, and you know,
That
at this time to even find any kind of recommendations for improvement. I think we can always improve communication in certain facets, but nothing rises to a level where I could find any recommendation for improvement this time. In fact, I might say calm down a little bit and, you know, focus on your jobs sometimes and not, you know, keeping us all up to date.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I don't know if I can.
no. What's that?
Pat says no.
Pat says no,
No.
keep it going.
I want to be informed.
You guys have been very diligent, we thank you. And with that, I would like to put a motion out there on the floor, or excuse me, propose a motion that we accept OE9 as presented. A request approval of OE9 communicating with the board monitoring report as presented and verified by the board.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, guys.
Good talking to you.
Thank you.
What was that, Dave?
I say you're doing a good job.
Yes, again, we want to thank the administration team, and, you know, this governance policy has, I'm certain, been a burden at times. But, you know, we as a board are more fully informed now. I know and understand more about our district in the last 2 years than I did in the previous 5. So that's a strong statement for me to
Good.
make, and I appreciate that. Okay. I think you're done listening to me talk for a little bit.
I got a whole paragraph, so.
That kind of smile. We are now at the consent agenda, and we do have some resignations. I'd like to turn the floor over.
Let's have John do.
Not really.
No, these are never fun.
No, just as a matter of information, I would ask that you accept resignation from Logan Hilgers and Jackie Adams. Logan is on his way to Arizona to get married, and that'll happen after the school year. So we wish him well and pursue his career down in Arizona.
It's warm down there.
Yeah. And Jackie Adams, her husband, is been an aspiring business manager who's actually worked under the tutelage of Lynn, and he's accepted a position, and he's moving on from his position
and that requires that his wife goes with him. So, we wish her well. and-
Thanks, Lynn.
Yes.
I never, it just dawned on me, thanks, Lynn. Oops.
So-
You did a
You're
nice
gonna
job.
do great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'd ask that you'd receive those. They've both been excellent additions and members of our staff who I appreciate and we will be missed.
They will be missed, and thank you, John, for that.
And then I would add that we're losing Mr. Rogers to Anago, as you all know. And Clint's been with us for 5 years. 5 of the best years, right,
Yep.
of your career?
Best years you'll ever have.
The best years you will ever have. As a matter of fact, Lynn and I were
Don't put limits
talking.
on it like
Yeah,
that.
right. But Lynn and I were talking, these have been good years that this admin team's been together. We've had some really good, I'm very sad to see you go, as is the team and the community.
Well, and I just want to extend a thank you to the board again and the admin team and the Nekoosa community for letting me serve here. And it has definitely been a lot of fun and a lot of challenges and full of a lot of learning experiences, and I will remember it forever and a day because this has been a really cool experience and this is a really great place to work. So if anybody out there is thinking about applying for the middle school position, it's a really good position and you're going to love it to work here. So put in your applications. When is it open until?
27th.
27th. So.
Well, you will be missed, Clint. It's sorry to see you go on. Do they have a good hospital up in Anago?
This is being brought up a lot.
Good ERs, right?
For those who are watching,
Anago better have good insurance.
for those who are watching at home,
I hope
Clint
you-
is accident. Think about the health
The
services. in
chainsaw
our
thing
country.
didn't even require a hospital.
I hope you asked about their insurance plan.
That chainsaw.
Oh, gosh. That was good.
Thank you for your
Deductibles will be going down.
Our experience rating
Don't
just
worry
went up.
about it. It only happens a couple times a year.
Every year.
So thank you, Glenn.
We wish you the best for you and your family.
Sure, that wish you all on your new position.
Thank you, Dave.
We'll miss your wife and your children, because they were good to meet, and thank you. Donations,
You would like me to read those? Backpack for kids, $400 from Lake Arrowhead, $20 from Sacred Heart, $45 from Bethlehem Lutheran Church for the Backpack for Kids program.
thank you. And we also have the regular meeting minutes, treasurer report and check register. In the absence of any discussion, I will call for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Future meeting and agenda items. On May 10th, 2018, we will be meeting to discuss policy governance. The topics we'll be discussing: results policy 4, collaborative and responsible citizens; OE 13, facilities management; GP 4, board job description; GP 6, board committee. Following that will be our regularly monthly scheduled board meeting on May 15th. At that point, the meeting will begin at 6 p.m. on May 15th. The first half hour will be dedicated to the reorganization meeting. We have a new board member that will be stepping in. If able, I would like to have Cody available for the May 10th meeting. As we discuss these items, the operating expectations and those are the items that will be discussed in the meeting in May, the May 15th meeting, so I think that's really important. Other board work that we'll be looking at is the proposal for the school nutrition contract. There has been a committee formed, and that committee will be meeting, I believe, on the 25th.
Okay.
And reviewing those bids that were received. In addition, We'll be looking at the school nutrition program, breakfast, lunch, the prices, school culture survey, and the 2018-19 district professional development focus areas.
And also the transportation.
We gotta get that on there, yes. Thank you very much. And I'm looking forward to seeing the folks from Safeway. They're
Mhm.
always just a joy to meet and see.
Yeah.
Any other questions, any concerns?
Was there another operational expectation policy that we were,
Look on the calendar.
well, but you had brought that forward. That we missed one, remember?
OE5? OE5 wasn't on the calendar.
We need to look at OE5.
Yeah, it was May 2017.
Yep, so that's one we gotta look at.
Yep. So we'll review that with Diana to ensure that it's on the calendar right.
Mhm.
But OE5 is learning environment / treatment of students.
Right.
One thing that we discussed, and that's a different topic. In the absence of any questions, I would, at this point, call for a motion to adjourn the regularly scheduled board meeting.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Meeting adjourned.